So yes, I'm very glad to introduce Clare Bixler. So as I said earlier, I'm not a school-based therapist. I've never been a school-based therapist, but I learned a lot by talking with all the students. And Claire's project was one that was incredibly challenging in the sense of these were very intense interviews. When she did her research project. And I was fortunate enough to be a second coder and read through all the transcripts of the interviews, and I learned a whole lot. But Claire has this real passion for school-based therapists and want to support them. She certainly has her own lived experiences and knows about the challenges. And as others have stated in previous presentations, that this is a challenging time for those working in the school. So Claire has done a beautiful job in her research project, and I'll let her take it from here.
You so much. So, the title of my research is Examining the Role of Social Support for School-Based Occupational Therapists. This research focuses on the sorry, I'm admitting people, on the critical role of social support for school-based occupational therapists. You will hear about the obstacles and barriers therapists face in accessing the social support they need to thrive in their roles. As a school-based OT practitioner, this topic is deeply personal to me because I am concerned about the well-being and retention of my colleagues. Without adequate social support, we are more vulnerable to burnout, which can ultimately lead to professionals leaving the field, a loss that impacts not only the therapists themselves, but also the students and schools we serve. So, literature review. Burnout among school-based OTs is linked to prolonged emotional stress, loss of professional identity, and feelings of depletion, often exacerbated by trauma exposure and large caseloads. The COVID-19 pandemic intensified these challenges, increasing vulnerability to secondary traumatic stress, which stems from working closely with traumatized individuals. Resilience, supported by strong workplace relationships and co-regulation, as explained by polyvagal theory, can help mitigate burnout and secondary traumatic stress by fostering feelings of safety and reducing stress. Research consistently shows that higher resilience is associated with lower burnout levels. The key objectives for this study: to identify social supports that school-based occupational therapists need, and to explore whether these supports differ for school-based OTs experiencing secondary traumatic stress compared to those with burnout. My research questions. One, what social supports help school-based OTs increase resilience, well-being, and job satisfaction? And two, are these social supports different for school-based OTs with secondary traumatic stress versus burnout? The methods. This was a qualitative phenomenological study that explored the lived experiences of school-based OTs through interviews. The study was approved by the IRB at Elizabethtown College in 2024, and informed consent was obtained from all participants. Snowball sampling was used to recruit 12 school-based OTs, each with at least 4 years of experience and a median of 10 years in the field. Data collection involved in-depth, semi-structured interviews conducted via Zoom with open-ended questions to explore workplace social support experiences. Pilot interviews refined the questions and process. Data analysis used comparative methods to identify themes through keywords and phrases, while reliability was ensured through triangulation, member checking, and bias checks. So the result, there were 7 key themes: impact of COVID-19, collaboration, relationships, autonomy, occupational therapist role identity, credibility and persuasion, and meaningfulness of work and care for ourselves. So the first theme, the effects of COVID-19 on school-based OTs. Many participants talked about gaps in foundational skills. They explained that there are increased caseloads because of these gaps. Many students are 2 to 3 years behind in development. One participant explained that the demand for OT services has increased in recent years. As shown on the screen, one participant explains feedback she received from fourth and fifth grade teachers on the learning challenges students have. The teacher said to her, "What are we going to do with these kids? They don't know how to write. They don't have organizational skills." Increased stress. Stress increased for parents, teachers, and school-based OTs. All participants noted that the stress levels among teachers and providers have increased since COVID-19. Behavioral challenges. Challenging behaviors becoming more common. There's a rise in sensory and emotional regulation issues. Teachers are struggling with escalating classroom demands. One participant echoed this concern, stating, "In all the years I've been in OT, my current caseload has far more students with significant emotional needs and behavioral problems. I have students who can hardly regulate throughout the day." As shown on the screen, another participant said, "Teachers are not equipped for or trained for these behaviors, and the ramification is that teachers are not ready for this." The next theme and biggest theme was collaboration for school-based OTs. So one, the importance of collaborating with teams. Formal and informal interactions with general and special education teams was essential. Through structured meetings, participants talked about aligning strategy, discussing progress, and involving administrators helped with this collaboration. One of the participants talked about how formal meetings often meld into informal, cathartic chats, allowing school-based OTs to debrief and have spontaneous problem-solving conversations. The informal conversations were seen as a critical element of collaboration. Proximity enables meaningful, unplanned connections. One participant talked about how sharing a room with a SPED teacher allowed her to have better collaboration. Some of the challenges of staying connected was that actively seeking communication could be exhausting. 2, collaborative relationships. Most participants had stronger ties with the special ed teams and speech language pathologists. General education teachers are often less engaged due to their increased workload. One participant said, "Teachers have a lot on their plates, and sometimes they just want to stay in their zones." Understanding and valuing each team member's role fosters collaboration. As shown on the screen, one participant described it as putting together this puzzle of the child and asking how our roles can support this. We really support the student within our specialty, but we work together because our roles overlap, and everyone has different therapeutic approach to things. By knowing and valuing each person's role and being able to share insights across disciplines, it allowed for each person's perspective to be valued and for skills to be generalized and shared language to be used, which could result in the achieving the best outcome for each student. As one participant described, "We come together and ask, 'What are you seeing with this student? And do you feel as though it is appropriate?'" She explains, "I look at it from an OT perspective, but I'm also asking what speech sees as well." Further, by having a cohesive team, school-based OTs could better tailor OT supports for students. 3, challenges to collaboration, litigation pressure. 11 out of 12 participants discussed the growing influence of litigation in school-based OT and how it has significantly increased stress for practitioners as they navigate legal concerns with parents and advocates. As shown on the screen, one participant said, "Special ed is becoming so litigious that everybody is paralyzed or feels paralyzed to make decisions that are going to be wrong. There's difficulty defending decisions under confrontational parental pressure. Admin support was crucial for maneuvering these difficult situations and legal challenges, but a lot of times they lacked understanding of the school-based OT role." One participant explained the physical toll of stress that she feels during contentious meetings when she says, "My blood pressure goes up. I can feel my face turning red. I have a pit in my stomach and this doesn't go away. You think about it all day and night. The next theme was personal and professional and personal relationships. So, the importance of relationships, coworker connections, balanced professional respect and personal friendship. Having shared experiences through meetings and working with kids fostered understanding and validation. Having a supportive environment helps school-based OTs feel seen and empowered. As shown on the screen, one participant said, "We are not doing what's best for the child if we are not supporting each other." Some of the challenges to building relationships were splitting time across multiple schools, which created isolation and limited connections. As shown on the screen, one participant talked about how she can build relationships because she is only at one school. She said, "I'm the only OT at my school, and even though I have only been here 1 year, it has been easier to establish relationships because I have only one school to go to." Rotating assignments, such as having contract OTs come into the schools, hindered rapport and understanding of the school systems. Rural OTs faced challenges with large distances between schools and talked about having constant contract OTs, which hindered relationships. Some of the strategies people discussed was networking through state programs or professional events, mentorships that evolved into lasting friendships, having roundtable OT discussions to exchange strategies, and all participants talked about so using social media to have deeper connections with other OTs. The next theme is autonomy in school-based OT practice. There were benefits and challenges that school-based OTs talked about. Some of the benefits of autonomy for school-based OTs was the professional growth and freedom to practice their skills. As shown on the screen, one participant said, "I wish everyone had the liberty I have to grow and explore different things and professionally practice their craft." Also, having reprieve from workplace drama was seen as a benefit, having the ability to step away from school conflicts. One participant explained how she feels she can step away from the chaos because she is in multiple schools and different places and can pull away when there is drama. Another participant expressed, "Some of my SPED teachers want to fill me in on the drama, but I try to stay out of that. Being at so many places, it's just too much, and I don't want to get caught up in that, so I avoid it." Some of the challenges with autonomy, one of them, isolation. Autonomy can lead to isolation because you feel like an outsider. As shown on the screen, one participant shared, "You walk in feeling like an outsider. I have to get a visitor badge and my kids are always asking me if I'm a visitor." OTs function in a silo or feel forgotten. Sometimes they're excluded from emails and meetings. One participant shared her frustration when case managers tell her, "We don't mean to forget you, but you're really not here that much." Having a lack of physical space, having inadequate workspaces such as satellite offices or makeshift areas exacerbated feelings of exclusion and contributed to burnout. The next theme was OT role identity. One of the challenges in role identity. Misunderstanding of the school-based OT role among staff, parents, and administrators. As shown on the screen, one participant said, "Being a school-based OT is difficult for others to understand. We are frequently explaining what we do. We are asked, 'What is occupational therapy?'" School-based OTs felt as though they frequently needed to educate others on OT responsibilities. One participant said, "I'm always contacting teachers and staff to clarify my OT role, and it's exhausting." As shown on the screen, one participant said, "It's hard to feel like no one understands my role, what I'm here to do, or even my name." Another participant said, "Our OT role is limited within the school system, and we are constantly explaining to staff and parents what we do." Some of the strategies to increase role identity: clarifying OT boundaries and coaching administrators on OT principles to foster understanding. Having supportive leadership, enhance school-based OTs feeling valued. Strong relationships led to recognition of OTs as valuable resources. One participant noted, I have been here a long time, and some admin know that I'm a good resource. They come to me, and I feel like they always seek me out. The next theme, establishing credibility through persuasive tactics. All participants discussed how they feel they must influence others about their clinical expertise as a school-based OT. One, demonstrating expertise. School-based OTs work hard to demonstrate their clinical expertise, often needing to influence others' perceptions of their competence, especially when differing styles led to assumptions. Building trust. Building trust is key and enhanced school-based OT effectiveness. Years of consistent effort and proven results helped establish credibility and encouraged staff to seek their guidance. One participant said, "It's a lot of work to convince people to trust you, and you plead with them to let you try something. And then, after years of working with people, they say, 'Okay, I think you know what you're talking about.'" As shown on the screen, another participant said, "You know when people know they can trust you, then they will come to you." Persuasion and communication. Persuasion is frequently required to gain teacher buy-in. Teachers need convincing about effectiveness of strategies and interventions. As shown on the screen, one participant said, "I feel like a salesperson trying to gain buy-in from teachers." Proactive engagement. Proactive engagement, including regular communication and visibility, enhanced trust and ensured that strategies are understood and implemented effectively. Having regular check-ins via email or face-to-face made therapists have more credibility. The last theme, meaningfulness of one's work and care for ourselves. So one, finding meaning in work. OTs talked about having purpose and value from being an OT, which outweighed the challenges. Being an OT is deeply connected to our personal identity. As shown on the screen, one participant said, "Once you become an OT, you are always an OT." Another participant explained that he cannot envision himself as anything other than an OT, stating, "This is who I am." Two, having a holistic and empathetic approach. OTs focus on understanding and meeting clients where they are. As shown on the screen, one of the participants said, "I just try to make parents feel human." Three, making a meaningful impact. Impacting students, staff, and families provided a sense of fulfillment. And four, caring for ourselves. To sustain their roles, the participants emphasized the importance of self-compassion, setting boundaries, and advocating for themselves to prevent burnout. As one participant said, "As OTs, we are helpers and fixers, but it is easy to get burnout because of this." As shown on the screen, another participant said, "As OTs, we see the more holistic piece of our students, but we need to apply this to ourselves. One of the reasons we were brought to this job is the reason we need to separate from it." Discussion. Burnout, it has intensified post-COVID. School-based OTs experience burnout post-COVID due to increased caseloads and overwhelming student behavioral concerns. This has led to emotional instability that resembles secondary traumatic stress. Resiliency through support. Having close professional and personal relationships can mitigate stress and build resilience. Providing and receiving social support boosts co-regulation and resilience. The importance of collaboration. Effective collaboration, especially informal and meaningful interactions, fosters co-regulation and reduces stress. Systemic changes are needed. Occupational therapists often face systemic barriers, such as high caseloads and limited collaboration opportunities. But adopting workload-based models and service delivery frameworks like Partnering for Change can promote equity, foster collaboration, and help therapists feel more integrated into school communities. Supervisor and admin support. Strong supervisor and administrative support, including understanding the school-based OT role and navigating complex legal and parental dynamics, is crucial for school-based OT well-being. Moving forward, stronger support, advocacy, and a clearer professional role identity are key to empowering school-based OTs. And caring for ourselves. Occupational therapists derive a deep sense of identity and fulfillment from their meaningful work, but their dedication to helping others often leads to neglecting personal needs and resilience, highlighting the importance of prioritizing self-care and social support for well-being. Future research and strengths and limitations. One of the participants asked, is it COVID? Is it societal? Is it autism? This quote reflects uncertainty and the complexity of identifying the root causes of challenges or changes observed in behavior and decreased foundational skills in the last few years. Participants reflected on whether the rise in student behavioral issues could be attributed to generational shifts in parenting, increased screen time, the impact of COVID-19, or a combination of all three factors. Some suggested that generational changes in parenting styles, with a focus on more permissive or less structured environments, might contribute to students' challenges. Others pointed to the dramatic increase in screen time during the pandemic as a key factor. COVID-19 itself undeniably disrupted students' routines, causing isolation, anxiety, and learning setbacks that further compounded these issues. Collectively, these factors may have created a multiplier effect, where each issue exacerbates the others, leading to a more significant rise in behavioral concerns. The intersection of these three issues has yet to be fully explored, leaving a gap in understanding and an opportunity for future research that could provide educators, parents, and therapists with actionable insights to address these growing concerns. The strengths of the study included a diverse representation from 7 states and 9 school districts. Most participants had at least 10 plus years as a school-based OT. Another strength is the minimal recall bias due to its focus on participants' current practices. The study's limitations include an overrepresentation of suburban school districts, which could potentially overlook the unique challenges of rural and suburban areas. Another limitation is the potential gender bias, as the predominantly female participant pool may have influenced the emphasis on relationships and collaboration. So I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Humbert for her invaluable support and guidance as my advisor throughout this project. I am also deeply thankful to my husband, who is an incredible support to me, my parents, and countless friends and family members whose encouragement and belief in me made this journey possible. My references are here, and there's more, but I'll go back to questions if anybody has any.
So similar to the way we've been doing it this evening, we would invite you to either type a question in the chat bar or unmute yourself and ask. I'll start by saying congratulations, Claire. I enjoyed listening to what you have to say. I'm a former school-based therapist before having started here, and I have 2 children who are in a high school or recently there, and schools are very different, and I appreciate all the work that you did. There's a piece of me that's sad for our school-based therapists, but I'm so grateful that OTs are starting to see that they have an expanded role. So,
yep, totally.
Not a question, but just a
yeah, no, agreed for sure.
We've got a lot of people saying I can relate as a school-based therapist. Any questions?
So Claire, thank you for your work. Great presentation. And I know you and I have talked about that this really affirmed what you already believed is happening in terms of school-based practice based on your own lived experiences. So my question is this. Has your practice changed, or will your practice change based on your insights now?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think right now, I've noticed that I'm coming to like a little bit of not a crisis, but it's interesting doing the research and living it. And I feel like at this point, I am having some struggles at one of my schools with collaboration. And I'm like, oh, come on, this is like what we need. And but I do feel like, you know, I feel like having other people who understand, was really helpful for me. And knowing that I'm not alone necessarily in some of the things that are going on. And also that I feel like there are changes that need to be made and can be made. And by listening to what other people have shared too, just, listening to the co-regulation that I can provide to other staff members, and that was also evident. One of the participants said that, like, part of my job is just co-regulating the preschool teachers because they can't handle it. And I just am a listening presence. So I feel like for me, sometimes when I'm like going through my head, am I doing the right thing? And it's like, no, yes, I am. It just by being a presence and having a calm presence, if I do.
Yeah. On those days that you don't need to be co-regulated. Yeah.
Exactly. And ask for help. But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Very
I'm
good.
curious, like there's been a lot of conversation tonight about co-regulating and using a lot of
Yeah.
these really amazing strategies. And I guess the question that always comes to my mind is, how do we do this work that's so incredibly important and valued and no one else is doing and get paid for it? Right?
Yes, that would be my ideal. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to show, at least in my job, like show the systems that this is worthy in a sense, right?
Hmm.
To get paid.
There's got to be
So,
grants or something. There's got to be some way that
mhm,
we can, expand our scope for this really important work. So,
totally.
any questions? They're just agreeing with you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it was a really fun project to do. So I appreciate all the help and everything. So
Excellent. Well, hearing no questions, then I will say congratulations, almost Dr. Bixler. You've done a lot of incredible work, and we're super proud of you. So
thank you.
congratulations.